Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'm excited to share with you my June 2022 Artisan Design Team Project. I was asked to use the Abigail Rose suite of products from Stampin Up. This suite of products includes the Cottage Rose stamp set. Just has some really beautiful floral images, and it coordinates with the Cottage Flowers dies. And you can purchase these in a bundle and save some money. It also includes the Abigail Rose Designer Series paper. This paper is 12 by 12. I've cut it down to 6 by 6 just to make it easier for me to share it with you today. I love the beautiful lined images of this paper and the natural colors. And then of course, they're double-sided. And this side has some really fun patterns and images as well. The last product that is part of this suite is the Natural Finish ribbon. It's a nice wide ribbon and has this beautiful kind of a soft burlap type of texture to it. You can find these products in the 2022-2023 annual catalog or online. To purchase any of these products, please visit my online store and the link is below in the description. Today I have a fun technique that gives a twist on using Sponge Daubers. I like to use Sponge Daubers when I want to add soft color to my stamped images. This technique, which I'm going to share with you today, gives a precise edge to your images, giving them a cleaner look, but still the softness from the Sponge Daubers. I can't wait to share it with you. If you are new to my channel and want to see more of my videos, click on the subscribe button and then the bell for notifications. I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and help you with any of your paper crafting needs. To order any of the products you see me use today, you can visit my online store, and again, the link is below in the description. So let's go ahead and get started. To start this technique, you're going to need to use some Stampin' Up! Masking paper. And I have a full sheet here. There's one side that is the adhesive, and so you want to make sure that you're stamping on the paper side. And I'm going to use this large image, and I'm stamping in Memento Black ink, and I'm going to stamp it twice. Next, we're going to cut out these images, and we actually want to cut them out in layers. So I'm going to do this first image, and I'm going to focus on the flower. So you want to cut right along the edge. And you do need to be very precise with this so that you don't get a halo look with your Sponge Daubers. The nice thing about using masking paper is that you can reuse these. So when you're done, just add them to the inside of your stamp case, and you can use them over and over and over until the adhesive is dull. And if by chance that happens, you can always try and add more adhesive to them, but maybe at that point you're going to want to stamp and create more. What's important about this first layer that we're creating is we're actually going to use the outside edge. So it's important that you don't cut into it too much and that you only enter and exit from the same area. All right, so here is our first mask. Like I said, we're going to actually use this first. So you can go ahead and just cut that out to create that first mask. On our second one, we're going to cut out the leaves. And like I said, you want to be very precise. So go ahead and get really tight with those stems. And again, you want to keep the outside one piece. So don't go cutting into that outside anymore. And if you can get in between this little section between these leaves, that would be great. Remember, this is super delicate, so be very careful. So right here, I'm actually going to keep all these together by cutting the leaf, or the petal of the flower, so that they stay together. So we're going to be creating these beautiful layers with our sponge dauber and our masks. So it just takes a little bit of time to prep everything. Okay, so there we've got this one. So this is ready to go. And I'm just going to cut it out so that I can still use the flower. So remember, we're keeping, let's see. We're going to have to keep it together. So we're going to have to go around this outside layer of flowers. So the next thing we want to do is identify the layers. So we've got this one here, and this is going to be our outside layer. And then we've got an inside layer. So I'm just going to go inside here and cut up around the middle of the flower. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one. For this one, I'm going to kind of think about that second layer of flower. And this is going to give us some nice dimension to our image. So let's go over this again. So I've cut out, starting from the center, I have my centerpiece. And then I've cut the next level of petals. And then I have the outside level. And if there's any sections that I want to remove, I can do that later as well, okay? Then I also have my leaves and I have my outside design. So now we're going to stamp on some basic white cardstock, our image again in Memento black ink. And now we're ready for our technique. So the first thing I want to do is let's do the leaves first. So you're going to remove the adhesive from the back of your masking paper, and you're going to lay this so that it covers the outside edge of the leaves. And you may need to lift it up and replace it a couple times. Just again, be very gentle with it. So once you have it in the right spot, it's pretty easy to lay down. So once you've got it, then you can just press all the way around and it should match up pretty close to the edge. I'm actually just going to cut this apart here. I can lay it over the image, matching up those edges. There we go. So another important part is that we cover up some of those flower edges right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove the masking paper. And this is just going to sit on the open one that we already cut out. Okay. All right, so you may not be able to see, but what I have is I've covered everything up except for the leaves. So we have a negative space open where those leaves are. Okay, and I am going to sponge daub this with some soft succulent. So I've got my sponge dauber, and you're going to want to apply ink where you want it the darkest, and then you can move and kind of lighten it up as you move to the edges. And then just make sure you don't go beyond your mask. All right, so once you have it the way you like it, you're just going to leave it. But we do need to remove the flower. So go ahead and carefully remove that layer. Okay, so now that you've added the color, we're going to remove this mask. So just go ahead and carefully remove it. The masking paper is very sticky, very tacky. And so you just want to make sure that you're careful so that you don't tear your cardstock. Here, and you can see how beautiful that looks. You got that soft coloring from the sponge daubers, but that precise edge. So now we're going to pull in our flower. And what we're doing here is we are just lining it up with the outside edge of the flower, just like we did with the leaves. So for our card, we're going to use a soft pink color, and I'm using Blushing Bride. And before we begin, we actually do need to also cover up the center, because we want to create these layers, and so we don't want to add any ink to the center yet. So what we're showing is just that outside edge, and we're going to apply some ink. And again, I'm using Blushing Bride, and I'm going to stick with some darker areas near the bottom inside of the petals, and then I can soften it up as I move to the edge. So you can see how this is going to start to look. So then we're going to remove the centerpiece. Look how pretty that is. It gives us such a nice look. So this is the outside one that we just did. We're going to cover it up so that we have that center, and we're going to use the center here because we're going to use a different color for our center. So put that over the center as well. So we're just kind of masking in layers. And now we're going to do the exact same thing. We've got our Blushing Bride. Add it deeper and darker near the center of those petals, and then soften it up as it goes to the top. And this is really going to give us a nice definition of layers to our flower. Okay, so we're going to leave the background ones on. We can remove the center. You can start to see how that looks. And then if you want, you can add the center, this one. This one is going to give us just the center as the opening. And then for the center, I wanted to use a little crushed curry. So I've got another sponge dauber that's yellow, and I'm just going to add it nice and dark near the bottom, and then kind of lighten it up near the top. All right, so you're ready for the big reveal. So you just start removing your layers a little bit at a time. It looks like I maybe need a little more color at the top, just so that it blends a little nicer. So there's that first layer, and then we can remove our second layer. Do you see how you get the definition between the darker and the lighter layers? And the reason we use the outside layer is so that we get that nice crisp edge. So then when we cut it out with its coordinating dies, it just has this really beautiful look. What do you think about that depth that you can get with your sponge daubers? I think it just has a really gorgeous look and worth the extra time to create those masks. So I've gone ahead and cut that out with the coordinating dies. And I have done a second flower. This is the medium-sized flower from the stamp set. I did the exact same techniques, but I used Calypso Coral and then crushed curry. I also cut out a second leaf, and this one I colored with Old Olive. And then I've done a tiny one. This one I did with So Saffron as the outside color, and then we've got crushed curry in the center, just like the other flowers. And I've cut all those out with the coordinating dies and have used similar techniques for the blending and masking. So the dies from the stamp set, so these are the coordinating cottage flower dies, and I just wanted to make a quick mention. So there are coordinating dies for the large flower and the single leaf. So those go with this, okay? Those two. And then we've got some really beautiful detailed flowers that you can add as accent images. And then we have this large die cut, and I'm going to use it in the back of my cards. But I wanted to also point out that it does cut out these other images. So if you flip it over, you can see that it matches with the medium floral image. And then there are these three here that it cuts out. So those three are one stamp, and so they can be cut out together with this die as well. So I wanted to make mention of that since they're not separated. They're all together in this one. So on some smoky slate cardstock, I'm going to cut out this image all by itself. This is just going to give a little more texture and interest to the back of the card. And then we're going to take this die cut piece of paper, and we're going to do two things to it. We're going to give it a border, And I'm going to use the deckled rectangle dies. So it's the largest die that I'm going to be using from that rectangle set. And you're just going to cut out. You want to make sure that you don't cut off the top of that leaf. But down here you can cut the bottom. And then just make sure it's centered. All right, so we've got this fun edge. We've got this beautiful die cut, and then we're going to add some texture. So I'm going to pop it into my time-worn type embossing folder and emboss it. So I'm just going to add everything to a card base of thick basic white cardstock. I've got my pattern paper. I wanted to coordinate it with the smoky slate, so I'm going to use this soft shaped floral shapes. And those shapes actually coordinate with that larger die cut shape as well. They're just a smaller version. So make sure all that lines up. Use a bone folder to smooth out your glue so that you don't get any lumps and bumps. And then you can add your die cut to the center. Add just a little bit of adhesive along the edges. And it's going to have a little bit of an angle. Just like that. I do want to add a strip of rose gold specialty metallic paper. And it comes in a pack with gold as well, but I love this soft pink. I've added a little adhesive to the back, and I'm going to add it using my grid paper at about 2 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches is kind of where I'm placing it, right across my card base there. So it is 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4. So I'm going to take my ribbon and cut a little larger than my card. And I'm going to take some tear and tape and add it to the top of the ribbon, all the way across. And then I'm going to fold the ribbon down. And I just want to fold it a little bit so that I can still see both edges. And I like to do this with my larger ribbons. I think it's fun to get a smaller size, but then get that double edge look. So you can also take another piece of tear and tape to the back and add that across your card. So you'll get something like this, and then cut it off at those edges of that card. All right, so now we can add our images. And I'm going to start with my floral image right in the center, maybe a little bit closer to the left side so that I have some room for these other images. Then I'm going to add my calypso coral. I want to make sure I still see that gold paper, so I'm going to bump that up just a little bit. I'm going to tuck in my old olive leaf here near the top. And then my yellow flower comes down here, just like that. Then the last thing we're going to add is our greeting, and I'm using the Friends Forever, and I've just cut it to a 1/2 inch strip and stamped it in Memento Black and added it with dimensionals. So let's go ahead and put together card number 2 very quickly. I've got another card base of thick basic white cardstock, and I'm going to add this pattern from the Abigail Rose Designer Series paper. So next I'm going to take 3 strips of that rose gold metallic specialty paper, and they are the same size as the other one. It's 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4, and I'm just going to add them to the center. And this is going to give a kind of a base for our images to sit. So begin with the first one right in the center, and then you can add the second one on top with a little gap, and then the third one at the bottom with a little gap. I do want to point out all the beautiful greetings that this stamp set has. We've got best wishes, it's going to be fab, happy birthday, you are positively the greatest, that's the one I'm using on my second card, friends forever, which is the one I used on my first card, and feel better real soon. So I did stamp this one, cut it out with another one of the deckled rectangle dies, and it's a smaller one, not the smallest. It's about 1.5 inches by 3 inches. And I'm going to add that to the center with some dimensionals. And then I'm going to take the leaves and add these around first. So this one is a soft succulent leaf. Just going to tuck that near the top. And then I have another soft succulent that I'm going to tuck near the bottom. I'll give you a close-up of those. Then I have some old olive leaves that I'm also going to add. This one I'm going to add right here, coming down, and then another one coming up. Just like that. And if you want them smaller, you can also trim them down. And then we're just going to add our flowers on top of those leaves. So here I've got the medium flower in Blushing Bride using those same techniques. And then I have 2 of the yellow ones, and I'm going to add them. I'm going to actually cut that one down a little bit. There we go. It was poking out. So I'm going to place this one maybe at an angle like that, covering up that raw edge, and then another one up above. And those are the small flowers, which I've used So Saffron and crushed curry for the center. So that comes together very quickly after you've done all the beautiful coloring on those images. So before I leave, I'd like to share one more quick idea that you can use with the images from the Cottage Rose stamp set and using the technique that we've learned today. So this is the Delicate Details treat boxes. It comes like this. There are 8 in a box, and you can use the already applied adhesive to put the box together. I did add a little bit of the smoky slate cardstock to the back of the front of the box so that you can't see through it, and then added a tag using the tailor-made tags from the rose gold metallic specialty paper. Added just one of those large florals using exactly the same techniques we did today, and then added a strip with the greeting happy birthday. So that's another quick and easy project that you can make using these products. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching me create these fun projects today. If you're interested in getting written instructions or seeing close-up images on how to create this technique, as well as these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. If you'd like to purchase any Stampin' Up! Products through me, please use the link in the description below to visit my online store. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.